Hi guys, so today is the 6th of September 2019 and today is my MDT day. I am really excited, and so we're in the car on our way to Chichester and I will let you know how it goes. See you later. Hi guys, Emma here. So I have come back today from my MDT appointment at St Richard's Hospital in Chichester, and I am delighted to say that I got a yes for gastric bypass. So I have now been added onto the list for waiting for a surgery date, which should be in 4 to 6 months. And I thought I'd tell you a little bit about MDT today. I arrived there at about 20 to 9. I needed to be there at 9 o'clock, so I was a little bit early, and I was able to park right outside the Loxwood Centre in the disabled bay. And then with some of the ladies that I had spoken to on the Chichester gastric surgery Facebook page, and then we gradually started getting called in to see the various different people. So we saw the nurse, the dietitian, the doctor and the anaesthetist before lunchtime. So when I was called in, my first appointment was with the nurse, Lisa. She went through the different operations and explained different things about them. She took my blood pressure and she took my blood oxygen saturation levels, etc. And she also, I had quite a long list of questions I wanted to ask, so she said, well, run through the questions. If I don't know the answers to them, I'll tell you who's the best person to ask. So we went through my questions. She answered quite a lot of them, and then I came out. Did I do anything else with her? No, so she also did my neck measurement. So the neck measurement is to see how likely you are to have sleep apnea, and I believe it's if your neck measurement is over 40 centimetres, then they will look at getting you tested for sleep apnea if you don't already think you have it. And luckily mine was not, so they have not said I need to have a sleep study. And came out from that appointment. I was then called in to see the dietitian Elaine, who is an absolutely lovely lady, and she looked at some of the bits of food diary that I'd brought with me. She also had the food diary that I'd completed when my paperwork was sent to St Richard's, and she was really pleased with the variety of food that I've been eating. I'm not a fussy eater, so that was great. And she talked a bit about sort of food diary and spacing out meals, etc., which is something I find quite difficult. Sometimes I leave it too long between meals and then it has a knock-on effect to the rest of the day, etc. So she spoke a little bit about that. What other notes did I make? So, and she said the way that I have to eat before I go to work in the middle of the day, and she said after surgery sometimes you won't be eating when you feel hungry, you'll be eating when you need to eat. So she said actually needing to have my lunch early before I go to work is quite good practice for that. She said it's the best way to sort of think about it is when you're tired, you don't go to sleep every time you're tired, you sort of ignore it. And it's the same with eating. You don't eat every time you're hungry, and after surgery you aren't hungry every time you eat. and often you'll need to remind yourself to eat because you're not feeling hungry. So what else did we talk about? We talked about my sweet tooth, that I like to sort of end a meal with something sweet, so like some chocolate or something. And she said about sort of swapping that for a piece of fruit or yogurt or something like that. We also talked about sort of exercise and what sort of exercise I've been doing, like the yoga and things like that. She also, we talked a little bit about sort of the sensory element of eating, and as I may have mentioned in one of my other videos, so I have dermatillomania, which is it's a form of OCD, and it is the compulsion to pick imperfections on your skin, and so I often with using my fingers, I pick at my skin, like round under my chin and on my shoulders, etc. And I also bite the inside of my lips and the inside of my cheeks. And we talked a little bit about that, and I said that sometimes I do find that if I'm sort of sitting watching TV or something, or if I'm getting a bit stressed, I then realise that I've been biting the inside of my lip, which gets quite painful and it can bleed, which isn't very nice. And so sometimes if I become aware that I'm doing that, I will actually get something to eat, which then prevents me from biting the inside of my lip. And she said about sort of thinking about what other sensory things I could do instead of sort of eating and biting my lip or picking at skin. And so that was quite interesting as well. That's something for me to look into. And we talked about diet-wise, they treat the sleeve and the bypass the same. And we talked about the not drinking and eating at the same time, and the amount of time that you need to leave between drinking and then waiting and then eating and then being able to drink again, which is, you need to leave 20 minutes either side. And so she said that you need the food to sit in your stomach, basically, so that it triggers your brain to know that you're full up. So you don't want to, hello Teddy, you don't want to sort of flush the food through your stomach too fast, because then your brain won't get the message that you're full up, and it will also mean that you're flushing the food through before the stomach and the intestines have time to absorb the nutrients from the food as well. So there's quite a lot of reasons why you're going to do that. And as Teddy is now here, I'm going to stop recording for a minute, and then I'm going to do the rest of the video in a second.
But I want to stay in here.
I know. Okay, so the third person that I saw was the doctor who works in the Loxwood Centre. She wasn't the surgeon, she was a physician, and her name was Lorraine. I can't remember what her surname was. And she sort of went through my medical history, whether I had sort of family history of diabetes, which I do, and we kind of talked about which surgery I'd prefer. I think I've mentioned before, I don't have any obesity related health conditions like diabetes. If you had diabetes, they would put you forward for bypass rather than the sleeve. But all throughout today they told me that I could make the decision on which surgery, and I went in, saw the doctor, and she said what is your gut telling you which surgery you'd prefer? And I said, well, I think I would prefer the bypass because it's been done for longer. There's more known about the long-term effects of it, etc. And she said that yes, she would happily kind of endorse that choice if that's the one I wanted to go for. And she said that with my family history of diabetes, that I probably was bordering on being pre-diabetic, and obviously the gastric bypass would help with that. She also asked about things like polycystic ovary syndrome, and I said I haven't ever been diagnosed with that, but she said that it's possible that I have it, and I've just never been diagnosed with it, and that's again something that surgery would help with. And we also talked about dumping syndrome and the fact that the bypass would be a better deterrent for my sweet tooth. Hello, Teddy. And what else did she say? She gave me the forms for going for a blood test at lunchtime. And she also we talked about sort of mental health and those kind of bits and pieces. We talked about my sciatica, and sciatica is when Mummy's leg hurts.
Okay.
Okay, so after I saw the doctor, I then had one more person to see before lunch, and that was the anaesthetist.
What's anaesthetist?
I always struggle to say that word. Who was called Dr. Hill, and he sort of went through some general sort of checking to make sure that I would be able to have a successful anaesthetic. And he asked me to put my head up and down, and could I open my mouth wide, and check to make sure I hadn't got any like false teeth or crowns or anything like that in my mouth. Crown is when you have like a cap on your tooth if you've had a problem with your tooth. And that was all fine. He asked about any sort of medical conditions, etc. So spoke a little bit about sciatica again. And that was a very brief appointment. I was only in with him for maybe just over 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes. And then we were told by the receptionist that we could go and have some lunch and come back in about 45 minutes time. So that is what we did. During lunchtime, myself and several of the other ladies went and got a blood test done as well. We could have done that afterwards if we wanted to, but as we were sort of up the restaurants opposite the path lab, so we went and did that all at the same time. Came back after lunch, and the surgeon came and did sort of a group talk, which was just explaining the different types of surgery and different risk factors, etc. That was sort of a 10-15 minute little talk. And then we were told that we would be called in individually to see one of the surgeons who would sort of tell us which surgery, and we would also see the dietitian. So first of all, I did get called in to see the nurse again because I had had a letter through the post last week from someone connected to the hospital asking if I'd be willing to be part of a medical study. They are wanting to research the effects on sort of reproductive health of women who have bariatric surgery. And they had written to me and asked me if I'd like to be part of that study, and I said that was fine. So the nurse needed to get me to sign a consent form, and I'll talk some more about that when stuff actually happens to do with that. It's going to be things like having some extra blood tests. They said all of the things to do with the study would happen in conjunction with appointments when I would already be at the hospital for various different bariatric appointments, like the pre-op assessment, etc. So yeah, just sign the consent form for that. And then I went and sat back in the waiting room and waited to get called to see the surgeon. So they did say they were going to call us in, the people who lived furthest away first, so that those people could get back out on the road before the traffic got bad. But actually I went in maybe second or third, so I thought I'd be left till last because I live quite locally, but it was fine. And called me in, and there wasn't sort of the kind of the fanfare that I thought there was going to be. I thought he was going to say, "Congratulations, it's a yes," blah blah blah, and he just kind of, it was like he assumed we already knew that we had a yes, and he was just like, right, so I'm just going to like confirm with you what surgery you want to go for, and then I'm going to type out a letter while you're sitting here, and the letter is basically confirming that I've been put on the waiting list for surgery. I'll get a copy of that letter sent in the post in the next few days. And on the list it just sort of says which surgery, the reasons for that surgery, which in my case is that that's the one that I chose rather than it needing to be a particular type because of a particular medical condition. And calculating out the percentage risk factors, and they were sort of average. They're no more higher than anyone else. So yep, then came out of that room and then waited to be called back in by the dietitian, and she just gave me some leaflets on the pre-op diet, the post-op diet, etc., and what vitamins I need to take. She said about starting vitamins now, but I do actually already take them, so that's fine. So she gave me, she gave me a couple of booklets. She gave me this one, and she also gave me this one. Oh, and when I saw the doctor, he gave me this one. So I've got those. So then I came out from that appointment and I could go home, and it was actually only 2:30, so we were finished up a lot quicker than I thought we would be. I thought we'd be there till about 4:30. So no, I was there from 9 until 2:30. So that's brilliant. So now I'm on the waiting list, and the waiting list should be 4 to 6 months, and they phone you to give you your update. And when they make that phone call, you get the update and the pre-op assessment as well, and then they confirm that on a letter afterwards. So now we are just waiting for our phone call. So that's brilliant, and thank you for watching my video. I hope it's been helpful for you, and you can write some comments down below and I will try and answer any questions you might have. Hopefully, if you're waiting for your MDT appointment, I can sort of answer questions and put your mind at ease. And I think the main thing to remember is if you've got through to the MDT appointment, you've already passed so many different hurdles, you've already been approved by so many different people, that it's really unlikely to get a no at MDT. It is most likely you're going to get a yes or a yes, but let's do some further tests first. So if you are waiting for MDT at the moment, good luck. And if you've had your MDT and you want to let me know what answer you got, then you can put a comment down below. And if you haven't liked and subscribed, then please do that. And I will update you soon. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.